Okay, today we're going to be talking about this book, Fundamentals of Unicult. And I've been working on writing more books for you all. I know that this is something that needs to happen. And but right now this is the only book that you can read from me. And we have a first edition and a second edition. This is the second edition. Eventually we will release the third edition. So I recommend getting all three because there are minor differences in each of them. So you can get this on Unicult Supply Co. If you're a devoted member of Unicult, you have access to the digital version for free, and it's a great book. Okay, so last week we covered Ultimate Reality, which was really extreme and really intense, and I think I blew all of your minds. Personal Reality isn't quite so mind-blowing, except for the fact that it allows us to both be selfish and have empathy at the same time. So that's something. And I think that there's some philosophies. I've read a lot of philosophy in my life, and it's all been pretty disappointing. You know, I've taken philosophy classes, and I've read a lot of old philosophers, and I appreciate the exploration of thought. I appreciate the ability to just say, well, what if this was true? But what I feel like a lot of philosophy misses are not just the moral frameworks, but the moral implications of believing something. So, you know, people will be like, no, you know, the world is, you know, like, you could be like Nietzsche, and I don't fully know everything that Nietzsche said, but, like, he was kind of more atheist, you know, nihilist, as far as I understand him. So, you can think all these ways, but then there's no consideration, like, how does this have a practical effect on my energy? How does this have a practical effect on my ability to interact with other people? And so that is kind of a huge oversight, in my opinion, for most modern philosophy, for most ancient philosophy, for most philosophy. So Unicult strives to be a philosophy that not only is a fun thought experiment to think, well, maybe the world is this way, or it seems like the right way to think about the world, the right way to make sense of all of this strangeness that we have in this reality, but also it serves as a moralistic understanding of how your beliefs actually create your reality, of the actual response that your energy creates in your life and in your world, and how these beliefs actually affect that I never do that whole thing. So personal reality and my understandings of reality really allow for an exploration of different ideas and an exploration of philosophical ideas, whether they be Unicult philosophy or other philosophies. And it really it serves as a framework to understand how your energy is interacting, how your thoughts are interacting with your energy, and how your thoughts are changing the world around you. So cute. Okay, so personal reality. As we have talked recently about, there are several layers of reality as defined by Unicult. We talked about ultimate reality. So we have ultimate reality, personal reality, social or collective reality, and we added spiritual reality because we realized that the laws in the spiritual realm are the same as the laws in the physical realm. Not the same laws, but just like we have gravity, just like we have different laws that we have to follow in the physical realm, the spiritual realm has laws as well that need to be acknowledged. So we have personal reality, social collective reality, spiritual reality, and ultimate reality. And like we did start with ultimate reality last week, and that is the collection of all realities at once. Something that's easier to understand is your personal reality. So there are several layers of reality as defined by Unicult. One of these layers is personal reality. Ultimate reality is not the only valid reality, and this is where words aren't really easy, because we have to start talking about value, and we have to start talking about truth in the sense of how it pertains to each person. We can't necessarily only consider physical reality to be the truth. That's kind of what our society does. That's why we glorify third-dimensional scientific practices and understandings. And the the strange misconception that physical reality is the only truth has led us to disparage and discredit all of the other realities that we are experiencing. Even emotional reality. I mean, psychology is the, first attempt to delve into the mind, but even that ends up relying a lot on the physical study of the brain and how the brain is operating with chemicals and things like that. The truth is that we are interacting with a multitude of realities on top of the third dimension. The third dimension is just a small part of our ability to interact. So that's why all these different concepts of realities are very helpful, because we have to start expanding our consciousness to understand that our physical reality isn't the only thing that's happening. And maybe the easiest way to start, depending on what your proclivity is to think about your emotional reality. And you can say, oh, it's just my that's just chemicals in my body and things like that. But you can try to make everything into that. What is love, and it's always up to what you want to believe. If it makes you happy to believe everything is just a physical, mechanical operation and that makes sense to you, you can believe that, but that doesn't make sense to me. I feel the grandiose spiritual nature of the universe flowing through me every day, and if you don't, I'm sorry, that's sad. But Unicole always comes down to what benefits you, what helps you, and so if this doesn't benefit you, you want to just think about it as physical reality, that's fine. But when we talk about personal reality, the interesting part of this is that it does move into the realm of consciousness. It moves into the realm of perception. So our perception of physical reality is different. That alone indicates that there are alternate realities happening all at once. When two people get in a car accident or have a traumatic event happen, many times they remember it differently. Many times they both remember it differently, as opposed to a camera that captures the event. Our consciousness warps, our consciousness understands physical reality differently. A lot of people say, oh, that's because the brain is flawed. Do you think that after evolving for as long as humanity evolved, that our way of remembering things is flawed? Or do you think it shows different sides of each story on purpose? Do you think there may be some kind of sociological benefit for each person having a different perspective? So even when you look at these things from an evolutionary perspective, it's just very funny that we say, oh, well, the brain just isn't very good at remembering physical reality. Well, maybe there's other things going on that the brain is tuning into that are more important. And I've never seen anybody give credit to that fact. Here I am. Okay, so when we talk about realities, we have to talk about what is valid, what is truth. We have put so much energy onto physical reality as the only valid reality. We put so much energy onto it as the only objective truth. Personal reality says, okay, physical reality is over there. It's happening. It's real. We can't deny it. Obviously, if you go too close to a cliff and you fall off it, you're going to fall off the cliff and you're going to die. There are rules in physical reality. We all share physical reality, even if our interpretations of it are different. Physical reality is here. It's real. Personal reality, though, is interplaying with physical reality, and the approach that we've had in our culture, in our society, to focus only on the physical, tangible reality has been a detriment to our own ability, our brain's own adapted ability to understand reality from different perspectives of consciousness. And that is a gift, it's holy, and it's divine, and it allows us to create a better world. The diversity of thought creates an incredible garden for all of us to play in. If we all only thought an objective reality, we all only interpreted reality from the physical standpoint, this world would be very boring. Thank goodness we all each have our own personal realities. So personal reality is the idea that your consciousness is experiencing all the other realities, physical reality, spiritual reality, social reality. You're all experiencing it through your own consciousness. A lot of philosophy deals with this fact. A lot of people understand, wow, I don't understand anything except through the lens of my own consciousness. Kind of mind-blowing. There's nothing in this world that isn't a part of you, because you have to assimilate your consciousness with it enough to understand it so that it exists to you. So if I see this lighter on the ground, I have to assimilate my consciousness with this physical object enough to where I can wrap my head around it and I can say this shape is an object. I know what it does. It's a tool. It's a lighter. It's going to help me light my candle for my prayer. My mind has to a certain degree, become the lighter in order for me to understand it. Understanding, grokking, or comprehending is the ability to merge with something else so that you can understand its fullest self, its abilities, and its environment. When we, in Unicult, we talk about empathy and understanding other people, we have to assimilate our consciousness onto another person, and we have to say, wow, this is a complex being with lots of past experiences. How can I merge my consciousness with theirs enough to the point where I get almost a duplicated understanding of their experience? We used the example the other day of if you're walking and you fall and you trip and you scrape your knee. Then you see somebody else who crashes their bike, and you can assimilate your experience, your understanding of reality with theirs to the point where you can be empathetic. Oh wow, they fell on a bike and they probably hurt, similar to, maybe not exactly, when I fell down and I scraped my knee. Our ability to assimilate our consciousness with other things in our reality, with our entire world, indicates that we're all one, and that's really where the root of you are that which, you know, which you hate, or which, if there's crime and murder and all these, you know, cops, all the corruption, right? It's part of you. And it's part of you because you can understand it. You can pretend like you don't understand it. You can pretend like you close your eyes. But there's an aspect of you which can empathize, which can understand why people do the things that they do. And that's a good thing, because you're rising up and up and up to be able to assimilate the entire experience of the entire world. And from that place, you have ultimate compassion, unconditional love, infinite patience, trust, and understanding. So when we talk about the layers of perspective, and we talk about going from a lower reality to a higher reality, from having negative, detrimental emotions, which we say are, you know, on the path of Mario Kart, you go off the edge and you're just spinning out. There's a certain level of reality, and we all have been there, where we are just depressed and lonely and feel bad and have bad ideas about the world, and we just spiral on ourselves. And then you can go up into more beneficial emotions like love and patience and kindness. And as you go up, you actually are incorporating a larger perspective of reality into your personal reality. It's a higher level understanding, and we mean that from the vantage point. It's not higher as in like, oh, I'm better because I am higher up. It's not about hierarchy. It's about vantage point. And actually, the higher vantage point you have, the more understanding and loving and anti-hierarchical you become. So your personal reality is that which you see everything through. It's you incorporating the entire world through your own consciousness and understanding and attempting to empathize. The more you can empathize with your reality, the higher up your vantage point will be, because you're assimilating more data, more information into your consciousness, into your ability to hold energy. Your ability to hold energy is your consciousness, your conscious understanding. So when we talk about what is valid, what is a legitimate viewpoint, we have toxic understandings that say only physical reality is valid. We don't give credit to the conscious mind or the alternate perspectives that each person has when they look at reality, when they look at the world. Creating art is a version of saying, hey, this is my version of reality. This is what I feel and think about this thing, and I want you to try to understand me. Art's incredible. We sort of disparage art. We think it's like something we should just put aside or enjoy every once in a while, or not really honor. But we should really honor art as an attempt to communicate. So it's an attempt to communicate personal reality. So when I really discovered personal reality, I think the first thing that ever made me really understand personal reality, and I bring this girl up all the time because when I grew up, I was not introduced to a lot of things that were outside of the box. I was pretty much, just like what was on TV was like my life, and there was not a lot of divergence from that. And so there was a girl, and now we have we have all this understanding for people like this. This girl probably is maybe a furry now, but when we were in high school, she just pretended to be a cat all the time. And she would meow, and like you try to talk to her, she would just meow, and like she would like rub up on a desk and stuff. And for me, coming from a place of like the agonizing pain of trying to fit in, I thought, what in the world is driving this person to think that they're a cat? So it was something that stuck in my memory very strongly. But this girl, I remember watching her, and I thought, maybe I was trying to understand her, and I thought maybe she really thinks she's a cat. And I was like, that must be what's going on. And so from that perspective of attempting to empathize with her and of saying, wow, I think she might really think she's a cat, it opened my mind up to this understanding of someone who believes reality is a certain way, who believes themselves to be a certain way, and who interacts with the world based on their beliefs. We all do this to a certain extent. If you are born to a wealthy family and you fit the stereotype of what is a successful, you gotta be kidding me. What is a successful person, and your parents are wealthy, you're gonna go to the right schools, you're gonna be wealthy, you're gonna follow all the check boxes, your interpretation of reality is gonna be that you deserve that, and you're going to behave in reality in a way that makes that happen. If you feel like an attractive person, you're going to approach other people confidently. If you feel like you're well liked and it's easy for you to get along with people, you're going to lead your energy in that way. So your personal reality is not just an internal aspect. Your personal reality is that thing that explains the world to you, but it also explains you to other people. How you understand your reality determines your behavior and your paradigm and how you are. So this is what we always say, how does this benefit you? How does this help you? When we're talking about personal reality, this is the place where you can start to develop all of your ideas about the world. This is the place where you start to develop your entire understanding of your own philosophy and why. Personal reality is the ability to say, well, in my reality, that doesn't benefit me. It's the ability to stand up for your own conscious understanding of reality and to... Do you want to just take a Nefertiti moment? Okay. Here's Nefertiti. This is the Nefertiti moment of Cam Church. Everyone say, what kind of dog is that? People pull their cars over. People run, they stop their runs. They take their masks off to talk. They say, what kind of dog is that? I've never seen a dog like that. And I say, Egyptian pharaoh hound. And they say, what? And I say, she is an Egyptian pharaoh hound. They say, oh, wow. Never heard of that before. Okay. That was good. I enjoyed that part. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Nefertiti. Your personal reality. I had to finish the sermon. Thank you. Okay, sit right down. You are raising the Cam Church vibration. Where do you want to sit? I have to finish the sermon. Okay, all right. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Your personal interpretation. Thank you, Neff. You ready for this? Okay. Your personal interpretation of reality changes the way that you act, and it also changes reality, because when you act a certain way, reality comes back at you a certain way. If you're confident, people end up liking you more. If you're insecure, it's a heavy energy for other people to hold. So it's good to always do the work inside your own personal reality to make your reality as good as it can possibly be. This is where all of Unicult ideology stems from, If it doesn't benefit you, if it doesn't raise your vibration, why believe it? Why spend time doing it? Your own vibration is that which you have to constantly experience. Your personal reality is more important than physical reality because it's your first interface with the world. Physical reality is important, but how you understand physical reality is more important than physical reality itself. Anything can happen to anybody, and each person will interact with that experience in a completely different way. You are the manifester, the guider of your own experience, of your own interpretation of reality. You get to take responsibility for your personal reality. Everything in this world only exists because you're interpreting it. You can look at it from a very selfish perspective, and you can see the world in this way of like, how does this benefit me? And that can be very helpful, that can be very good, but you have to remember every person has the same experience of having a personal reality, which is not the same as your personal reality. So from two different places, personal reality and really diving into personal reality is selfish and allows you to really investigate your own energy and your own understanding of how the world interacts with your energy. And also very empathic, because you understand, wow, the more I understand myself, the more I understand how other people have just as much complexity, have just as much depth, or at least potential for depth, and have just as much potential for exploration of these deeper aspects of their selves. And you can also see, wow, I can take my consciousness so far and my understanding of reality so far. So can other people, and they're going to go in different places and different realities than me. We basically are living in a big Venn diagram, and I think that that's like a common symbol, the flower of life. It's just a big Venn diagram, and I think it's just a big Venn diagram. Each person is a circle interacting with other circles, and we all share the larger picture. You can't necessarily operate the same. So your consciousness is here. You can't completely overlay your consciousness over the top of someone else because that's their experience, but you can interact with them and you share a part of your consciousness with them, and through all of these connections and all of this understanding, we get a bigger picture of empathy. So your personal reality means that you understand the world through your own consciousness. It's completely valid. Every person's personal reality is equally valid. When we talk about, crazy people who are in the insane asylum or whatever the old way of thinking about these things were, we talk about autism or ADD or borderline personalities or any of these disorders. These are aspects of different personal realities, different experiences of the same physical reality, but we each have different internalizations of it and different experiences of it. We need to work to empathize with one another and understand that other people's personal realities are equally valid to our own. The flower of life is just a Venn diagram. It's true. So let me just see if there's anything else that I missed about this. And if you want to ask questions, you can. You get to decide if you see the world as a hologram or however you want to see it. Within your personal reality, you can believe anything that you want to. You can believe you are a god or a cat or an alien from space. You can believe that you are the kindest, nicest person in all the world. You can believe you are a superhero. You can believe in magic. You can believe in heaven. You can believe in anything you want to. You are in control of your personal reality. When we believe we are capable of great things, we accomplish great things. When we believe we are capable of the highest kindness and love, we act with the highest kindness and love. When we believe in magic, we become magical. Many of the teachings in Unicult focus on crafting the best personal reality that brings you joy. We teach to not be limited by other people's ideas. You alone know the truth to your heart and your power. Many people are trained to feel that this is a detrimental, crazy, or delusional way of thinking, but in fact, it is simply true freedom and the key to unlimited power. It's about grounding yourself at the same time as expanding yourself. When you take your personal reality and you approach reality in this way of like, wow, I can do anything, I can be anybody, how has narrative, social reality, how has social reality restricted me? How is physical reality restricting me? Where are the places where I can push against social reality? Social reality is a lot more flexible than physical reality in some ways. Where are the places I can push against these boundaries and these barriers so that I can be my most expanded self? At the same time, recognizing those boundaries and barriers. Like I said, you can't just go up to a cliff and assume you can fly, believe you can fly, and fly away. You can't just say, well, I'm going to be above money, and I'm not going to live with money, and then expect to live in a mansion at the same time. Like, there are these restrictions, which may or may not be healthy, may or may not be fair, and there are things we can do to push against these restrictions. I think with even the regard of the cliff, you can spend time practicing levitation. I think there will be a time in the next 100 years where people can, where the average person can learn how to levitate. I believe that. I believe that because it gives me hope. It makes me happy. It makes me feel like we have more power in this world. Whether or not it ends up to be true, I'm not super attached to, but I believe things that inspire me to be feeling creative and free. So long as I understand other people have their own realities and other people have their own experiences, and I'm being thoughtful and empathetic toward them. So that's the sermon on personal reality. I love you all. Thank you for the donations. They're very much appreciated. Thank you for the attention. Spirit of Uni, we call you again to this beautiful chat to bless all the viewers in the past, present, and future. And we bless everyone to have a beautiful, wonderful week. And divinity flowing through their lives always and forever. Uni bless.